This week's episode is brought to you by Bojangles All-Natural Dingleberries. With the new year comes a new desire to eat healthy, and Bojangles All-Natural Dingleberries are a great way to start. Harvested from deep within the swampy crevasses of American farmers' backyards, Bojangles All-Natural Dingleberries are locally sourced and certified organic, so you know you're getting a quality product. With their rich, deep chestnut coloring and their earthy flavor, these dingleberries are not only nutritious, packing 200% of your recommended daily fiber, they're also the perfect ingredient when you want to take your cooking up a notch. Making bread? Try adding a cup of dingleberries to your dough and watch your steaming loaf come out flawless every time. Or take your chili from number 2 to number 1 by adding a few handfuls of Bojangles All-Natural Dingleberries to the pot. Your friends and family won't know what hit them when they get a mouthful of your dingleberry surprise. Visit bojanglesdingleberry.com and enter MindGap at checkout to receive a free 2-pound sack of dingleberries on your first order. Bojangles All-Natural Dingleberries. With a name like Bojangles, it's guaranteed good shit. This week's episode is brought to you by Elephant & Castle, located at 185 North Wabash and 111 West Adams in Chicago, Illinois. Look, I know you're looking for that perfect English pub experience so you can grab some incredible drinks and tasty food. Elephant & Castle has you covered. They have excellent daily drink specials, happy hour Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and some delicious-ass food for you to chew on while you watch some fucking sports. Come on down to Elephant & Castle at 185 North Wabash or 111 West Adams in Chicago, Illinois, and tell them that Mind Gap Podcast sent you. Greetings there, Jedi Masters and Sith Lords. On this week's episode, Justin and I are joined by the Force-sensitive hero known as Sam Koch. The three of us sit down and discuss the most recent Star Wars movie, Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker. We chat about what we liked, what we didn't, and how the sequel trilogy ultimately fared. Needless to say, there are lots of spoilers here, so you've been warned. Charge up your blaster, grab your lightsaber, and call up your Force Ghost pals as we punch it into lightspeed in episode 228 of Mind Gap Podcast. Mind Gap Podcast.
So the joke about my original roommate was that he basically acted like C-3PO. And one time a guy on the floor was picking on him, and the guy that was picking on him was named Steve. And so I said, "You'll love this. Oh, switch off." And everybody laughed. Yeah.
Because Sam went to college with a bunch of dorks.
Sure did.
It'd be funny if you're like, just never tell me the odds! I wasn't. And when you just wink, the rest of the semester you're just making all those different jokes.
Yeah.
You just need a bath and clean out all your gears and
You need
your
to
wiring.
get to class. You got a bad motivator.
Woof. Oh, man. It's going to be a special one today.
Oh, God.
This is a special episode.
Puns brought to you by Christopher Vellucci.
Yay!
Sam is back. Yes, he's back.
Sam Koch is back.
Yay! Happy to be here.
And it's always a pleasure to have you here because also, when you're here, we like to talk about Star Wars.
Yay!
And
If Sam's on the show, you can pretty safely bet that a Star Wars movie has been released.
some sort of Star Wars is going on.
Right,
Related
exactly.
Star Wars shirt.
Right.
Typically is involved.
And when Trump's Star Wars, crew gets up and running, we'll have you come in to give us updates on that, when is a Star Wars initiative?
I think what he's talking about is the Space Army.
Yes.
The
Space Force.
Space Force,
Space
that's
Force.
the one, yeah.
Got
The
it.
Star Wars initiative was a Ronald Reagan initiative, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was also the whole thing with Jim Cotta. You guys ever seen that movie from the 80s?
No.
Heard of it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. It's not worth going into, but the whole point of at the end of the movie, this guy wins this tournament, and then he asks this bizarre government to basically help them assist with their Star Wars program to essentially, fight Russia.
How's that going?
It was a great movie.
Okay.
It's very worth watching. No. It's bizarre.
I think
Bizarre
we
movie.
need to, for the next episode, we're just going to stream that movie on Twitch.
No.
And we're not even going to talk over it. We're just
No.
going to sit there while it plays out.
It is a weird ass movie.
And that'll be episode 229.
It's a weird movie.
That's
man.
it.
God, you guys are phoning this one in.
Right. Are we, though? It's interpretive art.
Sure. We'll charge $120 a ticket to watch it. It'll be great.
Only the elite 1%
That's true.
can appreciate it.
Exactly.
Because that's art, ladies and gentlemen.
Speaking
That's
of
art.
the elite 1% and people that are appreciating quote unquote art, we're here to talk about Rise of the Star. It's thoughts. Thoughts on it.
My thoughts are, you need to lay down.
I'm good. I'm good. Rise of the Skywalker.
Rise
episode,
of the...
Rise of the... Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Rise
It happened again.
of the Skywalker. Episode 9, Star Wars. I probably said that in the wrong order. I'm happy to be here tonight.
You said that in Yoda fashion. I love it.
It was themed. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's why Doug did
Something
what he
like
did.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
well, also, Happy New Year to all you diligent fucks out there. Congratulations.
You made it.
Yeah.
Y'all, you diligent fucks.
If you're watching on Twitch, just hang in there. We'll be there in a couple days. But if you're listening,
Welcome to the new decade.
welcome to your
Yeah.
new future.
I just put 2 and 2 together. Happy 2020, everybody.
Comes out on Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
That's it. This has gone so well so far. Sam doesn't want to sully the beginning of his 2020 with anything less than what we just did.
No. It's off to a great start. I love it.
Are you? Before we jump into it, are you guys excited for a new year, new decade? Do you get excited about the new year?
I don't. We've talked about this before. I don't. No.
Nah.
No.
No.
I'm excited for spring to get here, so it stops being cold.
I'm more excited about seasons than a new year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even like experiencing them, just conceptually. I like seasons.
I like them. Antiquing in a season. Nature walks in others. Coco in the last one. What's it called? Winter.
That's
of the
three.
four.
Three. You want? What about that other one?
I usually check out during one of them.
Which one is TBD?
I don't know. Stay tuned to find out.
I'm excited for the new. I get excited because we've talked about.
Resolutions.
Thank you. All I could think of was like impressions. We've talked about impressions before. We've talked about resolutions before, and while we don't necessarily do those or believe those, I personally get excited for like it's the beginning. There's a year's worth of possibility. Like I like the concept of like a new page turning over, and kind of being like, all right, this year I really want to like every year just getting better than the last. So I'm excited about 2020 because it's a twofer. It's a new decade, and the last decade's been a bit of a struggle. And I'm very excited to turn over a new leaf. Cool. Basically.
I'm bad at setting goals, so I don't like New Year's resolutions. So I'm just always
Again, not a resolution though.
no, I'm just saying, like, usually around the turning of the year, it's like, okay, now what do you do for next year? I'm like, I don't know, man. Why do we gotta write it down? And we should. That's the thing is, I should do that, but I'm bad at it. So I'm like,
I think it's because a lot of resolutions are finite.
yeah.
That's like the difference between like your nutrition or a diet. Like a diet is like a fad that comes and goes. Your nutrition is what you have just generally.
Right.
Right. So I think, is that what trips you up a little bit?
Kind of, because we try to, we have this block of time. We're like, what do you want to accomplish in this year?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to try and do? And we should be thinking of that. That's a good thing, right? Because you want to get better. I should probably eat less Panda Express, as I
is,
burp
right?
into this and it smells like mushroom chicken. But
Not peas though.
not peas. Fuck those
Fuck
peas.
the peas.
But I'm so scared of setting goals sometimes because I'm afraid I'm going to set a goal that I'm not going to be able to accomplish. I'm afraid to, and so at the same time, I don't push myself as hard as I should.
Yeah.
So,
So okay,
that's
so
always terrifying to me.
You know all those inspirational posters and quotes and blah blah blah. Not my thing.
The internet.
Yeah, basically. One I actually do like is Vince Lombardi. He said,
The trophy maker?
you know,
Yeah.
he knows. What do he say? Perfection is not achievable, but if we chase it, we might capture excellence.
I think it actually goes perfection's not achievable, so let's just stop there. So why bother? I think it's how it goes. Yeah.
That's why you don't have multiple Super Bowl rings, Doug.
Yeah. You're 100% right. 100% right.
Vince Lombardi quotes. I gotta see this.
Classic Green Bay Packers coach, legendary.
The real glory is being knocked to your knees.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah.
Hard stop.
The real glory hole
And
starts
then
with you on your knees.
And then coming back up. That's the real glory. That's the essence of it. It changes when you read it differently. So
Now, read it like a really excited Swiss guy.
Where the rubber meets the road.
we would accomplish more things if we did not think of them as impossible. Is that what you're
Nah,
thinking of? No,
I'm pretty
that's
sure
it?
my quote was dead on.
I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, the greatest. No, that's not it. Here we go. The difference between a successful person and others is not the lack of strength, not the lack of knowledge, but the lack of will.
That's a great
That's
one.
it.
Not what I said.
No, okay. Is it the measure of who? No, okay. Oh God, what happened here?
Control F perfection.
Ladders are made, they're not born. That might be leaders. Leaders are made, but not born.
How are ladders
it's a-
made, Daddy?
that is
Well,
a-
I'll tell you one thing, they're not born.
They're made.
There we go.
That's right, Justin.
Vince
Ladders are
Lombardi
made.
excellence.
They're not born.
Perfection is not attainable.
So give
perfection
up.
is not attainable. But if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence.
So that's the same as shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you could hit the stars
You may land
and
amongst
die
the stars
and die without oxygen
because there's no oxygen in
and
space.
get cancer from
And it's
radiation.
yeah.
Because in space, no one can hear you scream. Alien.
Vince Lombardi.
That's also true.
A lot of people don't know, but if you flip over the trophy, that's actually engraved on the bottom of the trophy. I love hockey.
Yes, I know.
So, no, I think I feel like that's partially it though. Like, well, and you said like you're afraid because you don't push yourself enough.
Mm-hmm.
So like that would be to me that would be a good resolution. Is an open something like. This year, I wanted in my like a lifestyle change. I want to push myself more.
Do
Not
more
a-
X than last year.
Right,
Whatever.
not a specific like I'm going to lose 15 pounds by February.
But then that's
4th,
not
and
a
then-
smart goal. How are you supposed to track it?
Specific,
Measurable, achievable, relevant,
Realistic. Oh wait.
relevant, realistic, and timely.
Timely.
You have been schooled on the art of smart goals.
You
Corporate
lost
training.
every
If
single
you're like,
viewer we
just
had.
be better. How am I going to know when I'm going to be better?
Yeah.
I got to be specific.
Yeah, we had to do that. I was at work all the time. For 4 years.
And I guess that's the difference between toxic, gross corporate culture and fucking living a rich life.
I'm telling you, it's true though. How many goals have you set where you've been like, yeah, man, I want to be better at that, and then you're like, did we get there?
Again,
I
the
don't know.
concept is not hard. Are we really going to have the debate, or are you just kind of trying to goat me?
I'm mostly serious. I'm
Okay.
mostly serious in the sense of setting a
Because
goal.
I won't have the debate if you're just trying to string me along. I'll hard
I
stop
want to
now.
make sure we talk about Star Wars, so let's get to Star Wars before we head down that road. We're here to talk about Rise of the Star Wars episode Nif.
So long to prep.
Episode Nif Star Wars. We all saw it. We're here to talk about
It
it.
goes without saying, there's massive spoilers coming. So if you have not seen it, turn the episode off right now. Go
Yes.
see it and then turn it back on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Way
right.
more Padme than I thought in this one.
I look, I could go for some pad thai right now.
I could
Right?
do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You won't eat Chinese with me before, but you go for some pad Thai. See how it
Thai,
is.
Doug.
Okay. Thai fighter. We're back in it. Star Wars.
Oh, this is the entire show. One of us will pull us out. One of us will pull us back in.
That's right.
Yep.
Just like a normal threesome. So, what are your Sam? I'm
let's
super
start with
thrilled.
Sam,
Well,
yeah.
here's the thing. I'm thrilled. I got to watch it with Sam,
You guys went together?
which was
Oh, no fair.
We sat
super. Oh,
elbow
no
to
fair.
elbow.
Yes. Jill and I were planning on going. We're like, Natalie's going to school this day. Whatever. We have the day off. I'm like, let's go see a movie. Jill's seen the last two. I'm like, see this last one with me. She's like, cool. And then I reached out to Sam to make sure he could come on here, and I was like, yeah, let's talk about Star Wars Episode 9.
Star Wars Episode 9.
And he's like, sure, let's go together. I'm like, you want to go to Monday morning at 9:30? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. So he came down. I was like, this is pretty special. I get to see it with Sam.
This speaks
And
to the old man in me. I love matinee movies with coffee.
Oh,
Ugh.
dude,
the best.
morning movies.
There was like 9 people in the theater.
yeah, there
It
was
great.
hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
And it was fucking amazing. So that was a very special experience for me. And then afterwards,
So did he take Jill's ticket then?
No, Joe came with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which actually ended up being really great. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. And afterwards, Jill had to leave.
Not that it would have been bad. I'm just saying, Jill, we love you. That
Yeah.
came out wrong.
No.
Doug and I learned a good lesson.
Shockingly good. I mean, she's like not terrible.
She's like very like adequate. Like you can hang around her.
Yeah.
But so afterwards, Jill had to leave, but Sam and I went, and I realized we hung out for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we had lunch, and we were just like dissecting the movie, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is really,
All right,
really
so
cool.
I purposely tried to not text you anything, and you fuckers already had the discussion. You had the podcast
We had
already.
a discussion immediately following the movie, and now we've had a week to marinate. We haven't talked
Yeah.
about it since.
This
Yeah.
is the danger of doing this. But
So,
okay.
because for me, I was like, those were my initial reactions, and then I'm like, I want to think about it some more.
Sure.
Because Sam, what was your initial reaction?
Well, to be fair, basically we sat there eating and our feelings. I had a banana split.
He did
Yeah, it's
a
good.
massive one.
Massive.
For lunch?
Yeah.
That's not you. That's
No.
not like
The
you.
guy
at all.
even
I know.
commented, he's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
right?
Dessert for lunch.
Yeah. Okay, so my gut reaction was they tried to appease everybody and kind of let everybody down. I gotta give them credit because I mean I'm sure they had way bigger plans for Carrie Fisher. That must have really messed up their production plans. I know they CGI'd her here and there in some of the things. They reused some different stuff, so I'm sure they do a lot of rewriting and a huge, massive effort like that. I think they did now that a week later, I think they did a pretty good job with what they had as far as footage and all that stuff. But there was a lot of good things about it. The cinematography, the lightsaber fights, some of the character growth, the different locations were awesome.
This is what we struggled with because at some point during our conversation over lunch, Sam's like, okay, what do we like about it?
Yeah.
And what we came down to was, it looked good.
Let me put it this
know?
way. I actually really liked everything about the movie except some of the leadership, executive producers, directors, some of their choices. That stuff I did not like.
So the movie,
But
you didn't like the movie.
No, the movie. The movie.
Explain to you what a director does.
But specifically what I mean is their choice to either nullify or completely counter some of the predecessors' choices.
Yes.
Instead of honoring them and building upon them and expanding on them.
That was instead of
pulled
yes
they
and,
pulled
it
the
was a
rug
no
out.
fuck you is what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very, very much agree.
Yeah.
Justin, what were your thoughts?
So this is where the podcast is going to get interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting,
Yay!
right? Good.
To me, personally, this was the best of the three.
Okay.
I think this was the best of the three. In no way, shape, or form do I think this is a flawless movie. I definitely had its issues. It definitely could have been better in certain points. I do not think it deserves anywhere near the ire that the critics are giving it.
Let me. I haven't done any research. Are the
I
critics?
have,
Justin pulled up his notes.
All right, so is it?
because
Is
I
it
knew I'd have to defend my stance.
yeah. Is it the actual online and like paper based legit critics
Yes.
or irate fanboys?
So again,
Thank you
Yes.
for. I can't think of words.
Clarifying.
Thank you for clarifying because that's really important.
I will say this. Doug and I recently had a discussion. Fuck Rotten Tomatoes. No, fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
The fact that they have become, well, we won't get into Rotten Tomatoes yet. All right. We could rail on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think that they have lost sight of what they are. Then now they are a trend-setting site instead of an informational site.
Yeah.
But so that's why I say fuck Rotten Tomatoes. But based off of Rotten Tomatoes, which is still unfortunately the most comprehensive aggregate for this kind of stuff, the two movies have flip-flopped. Basically, The Last Jedi, critics fucking loved it. It was 91%. Fans had a lot of issues with it, 43%. This one, the critics gave it 55%, and the fans, it's currently at 86%. So there's a big...
that's like identical with Empire and Return of the Jedi, though.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, fans generally didn't like Empire when it
Yeah.
first came out. And
Anyway, sorry, I
critics loved
interrupted.
it, yeah.
No, but so to your point is that, yes, that is the case where critics, it is drawing harsh criticism from critics, but fans, J.J. Abrams succeeded with fan service because the fan service is there to service the fans, and the fans have responded to it.
Let's talk about fan service.
Yeah.
Why is it the responsibility of directors, actors, production companies to capitulate to fans when their true, in my opinion, true goal should be to write the best quality story. Full stop.
It's a good point.
Doug?
Oh,
I mean, I could go on, but
Yeah.
I've said my piece. So let's hear you.
I want to jump on something Justin just said, and I'll come back to that. I want to put a pin in that. I just don't want to forget. Also, something I want to add with that fan reaction to Last Jedi, which I'd like to get into if we have time, which is the vitriolic response to Last Jedi from a particular group of folks, demographic, that was pretty awful, especially in terms of like
racism,
sexism, and stuff like that.
Can I take a shot in the dark? Were they mostly all like male basement dwellers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Straight white male basement dwellers.
A lot of folks that basically hate Rey because she's a woman. The girl, I can never remember the character's name or the actress, but the Asian woman,
Rose,
who she basically got forced off social media from all the fucking trolls who just ripped her to pieces and celebrated her barely being in the movie this time around. Like, that fan response is something that I don't understand. And, you know, I feel like that plays into a part of The Last Jedi as far as, like, people not liking it. Also, something else, Last Jedi took a risk. Did it land? I don't know. You could probably argue.
Well, I'll say this. I did not think that The Last Jedi was as bad as everyone said it was either.
I agree.
Like, the thing is, like, a lot of people, like, shit on the 7, 8, and 9. But I think what that comes back to is something that you and I touched on in the last podcast. I don't know if it was on the podcast or we talked off mic. But basically, I think we have become as a society hypercritical of everything that comes out. And we want to tear everything apart before even beginning to give it a chance.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that is like the amount of judgment, because everyone's got a voice now.
Yeah.
With social media and with everything, everyone's got a voice. So everyone gets to be heard. And I honestly think that people understand that incitement gets excitement. Like, so if you incite rage in someone, then it's going to drive followers and viewers and retweets and all of this other stuff. So I think people are very judgmental now.
Yes.
And I think more so than they have been in the past. And you could make the argument that maybe people are a more discerning, they're a little bit more discerning in what they take in. I would argue not really. Like, I think people are just happy to shit on as much as they can. I find us doing that too. Where like a trailer comes out, we're like, oh, fuck that trailer. And I'm like, we haven't even seen the movie. And we're saying, fuck that movie.
I would argue those people have always been there. They just now have a voice online.
Okay.
The same percentage of people, I should say.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were talking about this when he was visiting me recently. He said he calls it everyone's got a hot take on something.
Absolutely.
Some guy, and I'm like, yeah, we like, just to your point too, we do it too.
Absolutely.
We have our thoughts on it because we can. But you go on YouTube and someone's like a 20-minute rant,
Right.
two-parter, two
Right.
20-minute videos as why Rise of the Skywalker was a load of shit.
Right.
And I'm just like, you know, because for me, what I like about this sort of stuff is the critical thinking discourse that we have on it, because, and you know this, when I see something, I'm like, I don't like it. I'm like, why didn't I like it? I'm trying to figure out for myself what about it didn't I like.
Sure.
And to get back to your point, what was your question, Sam? That you asked before I took us down?
Why did directors feel the need to placate to fans?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my response to that was, I think, and this is kind of my whole issue with Star Wars right now, is that for some reason, people think Star Lords.
You are just on the struggle bus today, Dougie.
Guys, I'm okay.
Is that Pandix? I'm not going to say it.
It's that panda.
I don't want to get sued.
The panda.
I stopped myself.
Panda fast. So it's the idea that, you know, I lost my train of thought now.
Okay, fan service.
Fan service, yes. They were trying so hard. The executive team behind Star Wars now has tried so hard to play it safe. They played it so safe. Episode 7, I get it. They need to play it safe. They got to get people back in. The last Star Wars thing that they saw was the prequels. They got to bring them back in. Well, it's nostalgic. One of its sins is that's basically Episode 4 repurposed, but it looks great, everything like that. And then with Episode 8, which I applaud Rian Johnson for, took a shot, did something different, and whatever.
I agree.
And then J.J. Abrams comes back with Episode 9 and tries to like, and I don't know if this is all on J.J., or whoever the executive team is like, well, we got to make them happy.
Yeah.
So let's make safe choices. And I don't believe that was the right move to take. Instead of acknowledging what existed before, they sort of retconned a lot of things.
See, that was a common criticism, but JJ has come out in multiple interviews and like panels and stuff, and he's like, "Look, I don't understand why people." He goes, "I understand why people are saying that." He goes, "That's not." He goes, "There's this blood feud that people want between Rain Johnson and I doesn't exist."
Oh, I have no doubt.
He's like, he goes, "I consulted him on a lot of the story that I put into Rise of Skywalker." He goes, he had input on this, and he goes, "We weren't trying to retcon stuff." He goes, "We were trying to." He goes, "What we thought we looked at it as an interesting challenge of now how do we take this to the next level?" And like he threw curveballs, we wanted to throw curveballs back. And he was like, so he goes, the intent was not to erase. He goes, we never wanted to erase what he did. All we wanted to do was throw an equal amount of curveballs to keep people engaged.
I hear that.
Now that could be a bunch of PR,
But because at the same time, also I know that these productions were made separately from each other. There wasn't like an overarching story team like there was with Marvel.
Right.
Where Marvel was like, here's where we're going to go. This is the skeleton. This is the outline. Come to the creative directors come in. They're like, cool, here's the things we have to hit. Everything else you fill in the blanks. That did not happen with any of these, which blows my mind why you wouldn't have that. Why you wouldn't have some cohesive story between all of them. They're like, almost to some degree creating in a vacuum and then taking what's there. And I'm sure there was some consultation. I know that happened with Rian Johnson when he was doing 8 because he was writing stuff. He's like, oh, hey, by the way, I need R2-D2 to be in the ship with Rey at the end of episode 7.
Yeah.
It can't be BB-8. He's like, okay, so they swapped it out.
but the thing is, the difference there is that, to what your point is that JJ never thought he was coming back for 9. He never planned on it. And so like, I honestly don't think it was JJ Abrams saying, we're going to do these things. I mean, I honestly think that Disney brought him back and said, look, whatever you do, we're putting you back into this. Whatever you do, just make the put a period at the end of this.
Yeah.
Like put a nice period at the end.
He put a period.
I think he did because he's an amazing director.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But I don't know how much writing he does because there was like 3 or 4 other names on that writing
Right,
list.
yeah.
And I don't recognize them. At least I don't recall.
Actually, I think one of the guys that wrote Batman vs. Superman.
Okay.
Is that a joke?
No, I'm dead serious. I think so. Please, you can fact check me, but I'm pretty sure. I know it sounds like something that I would make up.
Yeah.
But I think I do think it's true. I've read that, and it was like, oh, so
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I guess
I think he also wrote Jim Cotta.
yeah.
Yeah.
with
The car salesman, sorry.
the writing choices, like there were.
Let's get into some specifics. We're kind of speaking in vague terms.
Okay,
Like,
specifically, C-3PO's red arm.
yeah.
How'd he get it? Where'd it go? He's back to 2 golden arms this time.
Yep.
They never addressed it. We spent a good 20 minutes trying to track down the history of that lightsaber.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that right now. Okay.
Force Awakens, they go to Maz's castle. They get Anakin's original blue lightsaber.
Right.
Also, they say, "Where'd you get this?" Maz says,
Story
"That's a
for
story for
another
another time,"
time.
and we never hear that story. We never know how she gets it.
Sure.
Star Wars TV show, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, at the same, you gotta understand that he didn't explore that at all, right?
No.
And so JJ had one movie to finish everything up.
So I would say this is not.
But JJ also put that in that movie to put that out there.
Right, but so you don't. I mean, so, like again, like if it's not hit. Well, anyway, go ahead.
So the quote I gave you from Hitchcock, he said, if an audience member leaves the theater and they don't think of any, or if they don't think of any plot holes until they leave the theater, then it's a win.
Yeah.
The fact that I thought of a couple of those mid-movie, that's what sat wrong with me.
But people consume media far differently than when Hitchcock was making movies.
I mean, but I still agree with that quote though, because there's been times where I've watched a movie and I'm so engrossed in it
Yeah.
that later on I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, that probably didn't happen, or I'll kind of go through that. But there's times where I'm sitting there being like, perfect example. We start off in Rise of Skywalker. Rey has Anakin's lightsaber. It was broken at the end of Last Jedi. It was broken in 2. It was like, okay,
Almost.
it's completely pulverized.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to see her recreating it, but it's just there, and no one mentions like, hey man, that was kind of tough fixing it, wasn't it? No, yeah, it sure was. It's just there, and I'm like, okay, because that seemed like a crucial thing that she's holding it in both hands. She's like, what do we do now? At the end of Last Jedi, it's like, basically Leia says something like, we'll figure it out or whatever, and then she's like, cool, I got it. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why? And then later on in the movie, another example, it's like all of a sudden we realize that, oh, Leia was trained by Luke. Huh? Since when did we ever know that? Like, we never knew, because I knew, like, Leia had some powers and stuff like that. She obviously exhibited them in a lot of ways. But I was like, because we talked about this, is like, I was like, so was she trained? Was she not? She just inherently have it? But then we find out at the end in the third act of episode 9 that, oh yeah, Luke trained her. And I was like, what?
Would that have, I mean, was that something imperative to know prior? Because again, we learned it. So there you go.
It was confusing to me that, because in Last Jedi, Leia's using the Force, and I'm like, how did she learn how to do this? She's obviously Force sensitive and all this stuff.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be something that was? Wouldn't that be something that J.J. Abrams yes-anded? You guys wanted him to yes-and something, so he took something Rian Johnson put in there and went, okay, then this is the part where she gets trained. We can't spend too much time on it, but we can show this in a flashback.
What I'm saying is, I think it's poor storytelling, because we're learning this stuff in a weird pattern, right? So, because what it seems to me is, it seems like an afterthought.
Well, yeah, of course it's an afterthought, because out of a 9-movie series where 4, 5, and 6 were made first, and then 20 years later, 1, 2, and 3 were made, and then 10 years after that, the last 3 were made, and in the last 3, you have 2 different directors, with one of them splitting the 2 movies. Yeah, it's an afterthought. There's going to be afterthoughts.
Then that's why I'm saying it doesn't
It's not
make
poor storytelling. It's people trying to bring everything. It's J.J. Abrams did a great job taking all these loose ends and tying them together and going, here it is. Here's everything.
Let me come at it from different
Because if not, then you'd be sitting here going, well, we never learned why Leia. Like, he gave that to you.
Yeah.
And nothing's good enough.
But wait,
that's not what it is.
Were you?
I'm being a little.
Okay,
that's fine.
Were you? Because I came from it from the angle of she was just a natural. She was Vader's kid. She didn't really need any explicit Jedi training to pull herself back. Whatever, that's fine.
To Mary Poppins,
it never occurred to me that what she demonstrated necessitated or required full Jedi training. It seemed like as a way to tell, oh, here's how we got the lightsaber. Something like that.
Also, to your point too, we don't know Leia was trained by Luke until the end of the movie, yet she's training Rey at the beginning of the movie.
So you're saying put the flashback before to give us time to...
It would have been nice to see that. I would have loved to see that in episode 8. You know what I mean? Like, or something along those lines, because...
Well, yeah, but you can't... I mean, that argument can't be brought up when talking about the shortcomings of episode 9.
Well, I'm saying from the trilogy. It's a flawed trilogy in that regard, because...
Well, yeah, I think one big thing I think Disney has learned is not to fucking split a trilogy between 3 directors without having anyone doing
Agreed, because I look at this and
that's more on Disney to me.
Oh, 100%.
That's totally where my issues lie with Disney.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily JJ or maybe the writers, but...
Yeah,
somebody's got to approve
all I'm
what
saying
they've
is,
written.
from my perspective, this story is told in a very disjointed way that doesn't make sense, and it seems to me that it's confusing more than anything, because things just happen, and then there's never sort of like a cursory sort of explanation. 3PO's arm is a great example, because I forgot about that, and you're like, what happened to his arm? It was red. He goes, you probably didn't recognize me with my red arm. It's like, how'd you get that? And then it's like, his arm's fixed. It's like, okay. And then it's like, oh yeah, we fixed the lightsaber. It's cool. It's like, wait, Maz had Anakin's lightsaber, but never told how he got it. I was like, that to me, those are key pieces of information that I don't need 20 minutes on.
There's many more examples like that when accumulated make enough of a unsettling feeling in my gut in the moment during the movie that makes me say, ugh. Now I got to go back and think about this.
And I think that's what my point is about the Hitchcock thing, is that when he was making movies, we didn't have nine movie sagas that span over the course of 40 years, and like we didn't have lore. People making movies on stuff that had this much lore and depth to them, and people who have fandom as deep as yours or ours or whoever's runs. I think like for me, the red arm thing, and like for you, the red arm thing didn't even. I was just like until you brought it up, I was like, oh, that's right, that was the thing. But it did not pull me out of the moment. Like it's people consume things differently now because there's so much being made. Like you caught that and you were just like, whoa, time out, you know?
So that's a good point. So we watched it. We got to chat briefly with Jill, but she had to go. And she was like, I loved it. Honestly, I think she might have said it was her favorite. I don't recall exactly.
Yeah, she thought it was great of the recent three. She fucking loved it.
There's like
So out of just the recent 3.
Yeah,
Again, out of the
she's
9.
seen. I don't think she's seen episode 1, but she's seen all the other ones once.
the fans who see each one once. Then there's the people who might watch it a couple times, and then there's people who like scrutinize it day in and day out. And I get it. You can pick apart any teeny little thing, but like I appreciate movies that are just so perfectly crafted like that, where you could go back again and again, and you do get more out of it. You do see, oh wow, this is a perfect script. This is incredible.
Yeah, for the record, I'm not here to nitpick.
Yeah.
I fucking hate nitpicking shit. No, I could see the boom mic, and fuck that shit. Continuity. Fuck your continuity. Like I don't
You
give
can
a shit
see the
about
boom mic. Then that's a bad movie.
that. But even then, it depends. Is it just peeking in a little bit or what? Like I don't know. But like I get. I'm not here to be like, no, technically the frame rate. No, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
What kills me is that there's obvious plot holes that were never addressed, or things were left on the cutting room floor, like Lando. Lando just seems like a creepy dude who's out there fucking people in space. But obviously there was a sequence, or there was some story where that girl at the end was his daughter.
Yeah.
And she was taken away from him, but they cut that instead, and he's like, you want to know where you came from?
Let's
These
find
balls! Like, it's those are things where I'm like, what? It feels
But again, let me
disjointed
ask-
and weird.
I totally respect. I hear what you're saying in that regard, but this kind of goes back to another thing that we've talked about of being spoon-fed. You can infer that that's his daughter, and you can infer that maybe an adventure is in their future. But like, do you need that spoon-fed to you?
But what I'm saying is, it felt weird. It felt weird because obviously they had some connective tissue in there that was cut, and then when they put it in its current iteration, you're like, what was that?
That they had great intentions. With different writing, could have had different impacts. They could have changed the wording to not be as creepy. They could have rephrased it to be like
It might have also just been the way Billy D.
his delivery.
He's like,
Right.
tell the princess, send the princess my love. She's like, you give it to her yourself. And people in the theater were like,
And then when it cut, what you didn't know is the scene extended. He goes, "I will." He pulls out a locket and just starts jerking it right.
Yeah,
in
it's
that-
just like,
that
yeah.
sand cruiser.
He pops a Space Colt 45. Oh yeah. You know he did a commercial for that, right?
Yes.
Oh, it was classic.
I did
Space
not know
Colt
that.
35.
And he's like, ooh, super smooth. It's great. It's so good.
But part of the thing too is talking about Lando. It's like, why was Lando on that planet?
Well, that honestly, I honestly think that, and that's one of the things that I liked about this is that everyone got a chance to say goodbye. That was the fan service that I was actually okay with because it gave you the feels.
I don't know.
There were 4 points in this movie that I choked up on.
Which ones?
One of them was when at the end when she took the Skywalker name.
Yeah.
One of them was when Leia died. One of them was shit. I can't remember the other two. There were 4.
if
Trust me,
they
there were
come
4.
to you, shout them out.
Yeah, I will.
When the what's his name got killed for being the spy, he choked up. Oh God.
Oh no, not the ginger.
That's another guy who just like his character arc was just
So underdeveloped. I will give you that.
abysmal. Just
Look again, I'm not saying that this movie's flawless.
I know.
I'm not saying it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like I think a lot of what's there like really try to put yourself in the shoes of someone trying to tie up a 40-year 9-part saga.
Oh yeah.
Like that
And have your main character literally die halfway through.
right and it's like the thing that was put in front of these people that not even just JJ, but the task that was laid out is next to an impossible task.
Yeah.
So the fact that any relatively coherent movie got made, I would say is a win.
I would agree.
I know that's
I
a
would agree.
low bar to set. Like I get that, but
Because getting back to Carrie Fisher, like my understanding is Mark Hamill, that level of quantity that he was in Last Jedi, she was going to play that much in this one. Too.
oh really?
That was my original understanding from like years ago. Things might have changed, and then they definitely changed when she unexpectedly passed. And like I said, they had to CGI and then like retcon some scenes, and they even took dialogue from Last Jedi, clipped it, and put it in.
Like used individual words to build lines of dialogue. Or-
Like never underestimate a droid. One of those, I think,
oh,
it was like straight
Interesting.
up clipped and plugged into the new one. But why they wouldn't get like a voice artist to copy her, mimic her?
You also mentioned retconning. You know, I really didn't like the approach they did with Rey being a Palpatine. It's like
that was one of those where I had the same thought. I'm just like, oh man, like they gave her something. But again, like when listening to J.J. Abrams talk about it, he's just like, we had to go one up, and we had to give everyone a reason for this. Basically, it was a MacGuffin to move everything forward.
There was plenty of MacGuffins in there,
right? And I think at first I was bummed too, because you and I have talked ad nauseum, prior on Money Podcast about the fact that we were happy that they went with in The Force Awakens. You and I were like, God, I hope they don't make her someone's daughter. And then in The Last Jedi, we were like, thank God they didn't make her someone's daughter. And in this one, it's like, oh, she's someone's daughter.
Which opens a whole new level of things where it's like,
we didn't know Palpatine had a son.
It's
Who did
like,
he fuck?
huh?
Right.
What?
Right.
He has a son. It's like, wait. And if we're playing in this world where lineage obviously means everything, you're telling me his son didn't have any worthwhile attributes with the Force or anything like that? Maybe it skips a generation. I don't know. And yet she was important, but he wasn't. And those were the storytelling devices or the plot holes where I was just like, man, this is really pulling me out of this right now because I'm so confused. And I don't understand what's going on.
All of the beats, they could have been there. If I think it really does lie in the journey, how they got from A to B. Like, she could have been a Palpatine. They could have gone a different way to get there. Maybe I'm not even gonna try right now, but does that make sense?
Yeah, like the same way he created Snoke, maybe he created her, or something where
Something.
they
Yeah. And and that's the thing too, is like Snoke was just a throwaway character. Oh, Snoke, here's a whole container of them I have in this fluid.
Right.
I make all of them.
You want some Snoke juice?
Yeah, it's like, we'll blend it up. It gives you vitality. So these blind people over here say work in the machines. It's
Brainy.
like, huh?
I will say the one to that point, someone was like, how did zombie Palpatine craft the biggest fleet ever seen and find people to staff it? Not only manufacture it, but staff it. And then who's his arena full of people? Like, I was like, that part I will give.
I mean, if we want to get logistics on it,
Right.
yeah. Which, again, I'm not going to, even I, being as practical I am, I'm like, my brother brought it to my attention. He goes, who's flying those ships? That's thousands, tens of thousands of people manning those ships.
Hundreds of thousands.
And I was
yeah.
like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that part. Right. He's like, were they flying when he raised them out, or what was? I was like, I don't know. And another part too is like at the end of the movie, Palpatine was like, kill me, and I will go into you, which I like that. Sam talked about some of the earlier Star Wars stuff where that's part of the thing where there's a Sith Lord that has existed for thousands of years by transferring his soul into someone else's body. But he's like, if you kill me, I will go into your body. I will enter you. But is that only if it's done during the ritual?
Because when she actually
because she kills him,
right?
So I was confused because I'm like, so you can never kill this guy? Does he have to die of natural causes? Those were things where I was like, I don't get it. And then I don't know. It's like if he's using lightning and she can just block it, and then she's like, but wait, I have two lightsabers, and therefore I can reflect everything back to you, and you're dead now.
I think she got close enough is what that was. Just
like Mace Windu did, right?
Not to nitpick, but I honestly think like she was moving forward, so I think it got to a point where it created a loop.
Here's a good... Just a quick throwaway.
You like that?
She got in the danger zone.
Look, anyone who has studied electrical engineering
and lightsabers knows that force lightning and lightsabers, we know that there is an area of effect that you do not want to be in.
Okay, so in the opening crawl, be like, the Sith have been expanding for centuries in wild space.
There you go.
And now they rise, led by Palpatine or something like that. And that suddenly explains why there's millions of people out in the middle of nowhere who've been secretly cultists.
Instead, it's like the Emperor finally releases his long-awaited podcast to the entire universe, and everyone listens.
Oh, do you know his?
I never considered it.
So we were talking about this. We said the Emperor. We said the Emperor would have been a
Stitcher Premium.
You won't get your world blown up. But at least 75% of you have to subscribe.
He would be a total Alex Jones sitting in his basement. Now there's Jedi. After I thought I killed them all. Universalists.
You know what? You know what makes them great? Bacteria in their blood. I tell you what, I'm not listening to the bacteria in my blood. You know why? Hail Sith.
Oh my god.
And also hating that opening crawl where it says Kylo Ren rages across the galaxy, and I was like, God,
It's funny because as I read that, I thought, I'm like, oh, Doug. Like, I was like, Doug's gonna comment on that. I immediately
because I was like, everyone jokes about him being emo, and I'm like, that just makes it worse.
Why? I thought because it cut to him
True.
rampaging.
It did. He was raging.
Yeah.
He was raging, although I would say he had less emotion in this film than he did anywhere else in any of the other ones. But I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of characters were cut short too. Like Finn, I just went back and rewatched Force Awakens, and I'm like, fuck, I forgot Finn was a goddamn stormtrooper.
Really? Okay.
I was like, oh,
they said it in this one.
yeah, they did. I forgot.
He and Lando's lover daughter.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
We're all
daughter.
abandoned stormtroopers.
Yeah, right. And I like the idea too that the Force had something to do with that. I was like, that's cool. You know, the idea that again, Force brings balance. But by the way, Rey didn't balance the Force. She made it worse. She killed all of the Sith. That's not balance.
I'm gonna turn this down.
This didn't do anything.
Nope. It actually amplified it,
It did.
somehow.
Yeah, it did somehow. You killing all of the Sith does not bring balance to the Force. It's the same thing Palpatine wanted to do. I'm gonna kill all the Jedi. It's like, yeah, no, she killed all the
Yeah,
Sith.
but the good guys.
Yeah, that's the difference, Doug.
I'm sorry. Are you
Hashtag
saying?
never forget.
Are you saying that the Allies and the Axis still both need to exist, Doug?
Well, they're not tied to the Force.
You don't know what Hitler had going on.
That is a great quote out of
He had
context.
scientists out the wazoo.
I hope that one line made it upstairs.
That's the one line that gets upstairs.
That's the name of the episode.
You don't know what Hitler had going on. Hashtag Rise of the Skywalker. But that's, I mean, also it's kind of going back to, God, we're all over the place, but that's fine.
Yes, yeah.
Like, Last Jedi, I think, did a really good job
Bring us back in, if you will.
of depicting the Force and what it was. Like that, it was like basically a force of nature. On that island where Luke was, there was an area where there was the dark side of the Force and also the light, or however you want to call it. And Luke is talking about the balance of things. Even when Rey goes down to the dark side and she actually taps into it to find answers, the dark side doesn't give her answers. And I like that idea of that these things exist and they are nature. And I feel like that just wasn't built upon in Rise of the Skywalker.
So let me throw this out there. Then.
Please.
Two ideas to that end. One, if it exists in nature, then just by killing the Sith, just by killing Palpatine, you have not necessarily mitigated the Force. You've not mitigated the dark side.
Agreed. But everything we've seen up to that point is about bringing balance
Sure.
to things, and annihilating the opposition isn't necessarily bringing balance to the Force.
So to that end, because she has Palpatine blood in her, is she not? Does a Grey Jedi not bring balance to the
Hey
Force?
man, if we
Sure.
if we talked about Grey Jedi, I would have loved it.
I actually was legitimately waiting for Kylo and her to start like the
Fucking?
the order of the yes.
Did not like that kiss at all. It felt like a brother and sister kissing each other.
See,
I was like,
you not the first person I've heard say that. I disagree. I fully felt the romantic link from the word go on the first
Kidding me?
one.
Last Jedi was the steamiest one yet.
yeah, right, the belly button high, pants.
Yeah.
Because I felt like more of like a platonic bond between the two of them. These two people who are trying to figure out their way in the Force, and it felt to me kind of like a Hawkeye and Black Widow sort of relationship.
Oh, they
like,
fuck.
Oh, they totally fuck.
Yeah.
They get down. And I just felt like it seemed forced to me because it seemed
pun
like
intended.
it just seemed very forced in
The romantic aspects.
yes, because that was one of my favorite things about Last Jedi, and this one is the connection, like how they portrayed it visually.
dyad.
Like, and not only that, I just love how it's like, in Last Jedi, Snoke's like, I'm the one who forged your relationship. Everything, the connection there is because of me. And then Palpatine's like, as he's sucking the life out of him, he's like, you're a dyad, you've never been seen before. I'm like, but if you were controlling Snoke Snoke made that, then you just throw that away at the last second, and come on.
But again, like,
come on.
if he has been the quote unquote voice of Snoke, like all the voices you've ever heard in your head, all that bullshit. If Palpatine's been pulling the strings, the way I took it is he just said that to help further the, like,
push them closer to their demise.
Right. Like I forged this, and it's like, well, no, like this is it again. He said that in order to push them closer towards where they needed to go to kind of help steer things.
I hear that. I just don't believe that. I believe that's. It just seemed to me that again, JJ was trying to build on it, and he did the best that he could with what he had. And that was one of those things where it's like, well, we somehow we got to make this important. And it just seemed like there was a lot of things that were thrown out there, but we didn't get the full development that they needed in a lot of ways. That we didn't get the full sort of like, oh, because that's and also
I will agree with that.
when she goes, I am the
Iron
Jedi.
Man.
I want her to be like, I am Iron Man. She snaps,
that
and then
too.
Palpatine's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, mew, lightsaber in the head.
What is this magic?
He just fades away. And she's
Right.
like, cool, it worked.
And then you just see Star-Lord slowly backing out of the.
He's like, he comes in
We're
and
family now. We're Disney.
all of a sudden, Star-Lord's
They could have done it.
Star-Lord's dancing in because he thinks this is where the place he's supposed to get the Power Stone. He's like, what the fuck?
They could do it. I'm just saying they could do it.
But there was, I think that's a good like sort of microcosm of kind of how I felt. There was a lot of things that were just sort of tossed out there that were not given the build-up or the explanation that they needed, I think, to make it a good payoff. Because to me, this movie was, it happened. It existed, I watched it, and it was done.
I thought
that's
it was,
fine.
Yep, it was. I would say I'm a little more favorable than that. Perfect. What did you say? Adequate.
Adequate.
It offered up some decent solutions in fan service. I just think they could have done better.
Okay.
Or with smarter writing. And honestly, the little triangles for finding that lost region of space, the bit of the throne room falling, the exiled stormtroopers that grew up on that planet, the thing that wiped C-3PO's memory,
We gotta talk about
the
that.
teeny little guy.
Well, he may not have had red arm, but he had red eyes. Is that good?
What the fuck you guys want, huh? I mean, something's right on him.
Like they could have done all of that stuff with just different, smarter choices of writing. That's my point of view.
Going on to that, they did not want to kill anybody in that movie, but they wanted to tease you like they did.
And that I was really let down in the moment. I was like, fuck, Chewie. Oh no.
And it was just such a, oh wait, there was another transport. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
And they did that
And it's like,
multiple times.
C-3PO, we're going to have to wipe his memory. But it's like, nah.
Yeah, I'm like, really? You don't have a
R2D2's
space
here.
hard drive?
And it's
to
like-
back him up. A space cloud.
It's
Anything.
like, sorry, it's only got 1 terabyte on it.
Yeah.
He's got like at least 3 pentabytes. So we
Each
can't
one of
do it.
those languages is in and of itself a pentabyte.
He speaks 27 million languages, man. That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
The fake outs of like, they're dead. Nah, just kidding. No, they're not.
The woman with the red and gold.
Yeah,
helmet.
right?
Like the whole planet explodes.
Yeah.
Carrie Russell.
Yeah. Nope,
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I'm back.
Yeah. Those things where I was like, oh, come on.
And I think
Come
to
on!
add more gravitas, if they were truly killed off in that way, that the movie would have been a better writing choice in my point of view.
Dude, I would have been like,
They could have
fucking
killed
A.
off Chewie and made it a bit more glamorous or something, but still kill him off.
But you know, how amazing
kill
is
off,
that? Killed by Rey.
Yeah,
Who
killed
couldn't
by-
control the Force. That's powerful, man. I was like, fuck, we did that?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And they showed Chewie, and I was like, you pussies. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. That's just, oh.
I disagree.
Okay.
and I not to be difficult, but
No.
I 100% understand and agree to a point where I do think, especially specifically Carrie Russell's character.
Yeah.
I was like, that planet blew the fuck up.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And also, why does she have the little guy?
Yeah.
Right. That to me, I was like, yes. But
Also, why does she have some coin that can get her on any ship anytime, anywhere?
She's
What the
she's
fuck
a
is that thing?
Drug runner. They gotta have those things,
Right?
it's a spice runner.
Spice runner. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, okay. Good things.
You need paprika? We get you paprika.
Dude, the
Ooh,
character,
cool man! Hey!
the character dynamics. He's like, yeah, it used to be a stormtrooper. We can do this all day, right?
Dude.
You want to get out of here, or you want to sit here debating?
Oscar Isaac
He
and
is-
his banter with John Boyega, like those guys were off and running. That chemistry was
I'd watch
unbelievable.
a side movie or something with the two of them any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
Oh, my God,
Just
that-
like they're off on another adventure. Like,
Oscar
yeah.
Isaac was like so stellar in this. Just his
was,
little thing,
yeah.
especially at the end, he's like looking, he's like, Little kiss. He's like, no. He's like, I got.
He's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, it was so
Yeah.
well done.
Don't know if you don't try.
Because that's the dialogue in this was strong. I felt like the way that people talked and interacted with each other was really, really powerful and
Yeah.
really, really good. And I appreciate the shit out of that. They've had that in all 3 movies.
Yeah.
John Boyega does a fantastic job of that. He and Rey, like watching him in Force Awakens again, he's like, why you gotta go back to Chew? What's in Jakku? You got a cute boyfriend? You got a boyfriend back in Jakku? And she's like, none of your business. She's like, you need to hand me that thing there, or we're gonna die. No, look where I'm pointing. Look where I'm pointing. Like, it was so natural, and in the moment, I was like, that chemistry between them was so strong, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
100%.
Okay, so you're saying you really did not like the choice of the planet blowing up and she still comes back. What was
So
the-
like I agree that like they could have let secondary characters like that probably go, and
Okay.
it would have been a little bit more. Again, that would have been a little bit more impactful. I disagree in the sense that it's not. I think what this movie did is it went back to what made Star Wars originally.
Okay.
Like I went like it's because we hadn't seen. I mean, outside of Obi-Wan Kenobi, outside of Alec Guinness's character, who technically came back as a Force ghost.
Yeah.
We really did, Han Solo. They didn't kill him off. They brought him back. You know, Anakin.
He wanted to be killed off in the first one.
Yeah, he did.
Right, but and somehow they fucking pulled him back in for the 9th one. I'm sure his agent called. He's like, "Hey, Harrison, how's your day going?" Good.
What the fuck do you want?
So quick thing. If it's about Star Wars, no.
Look, it's a day. One day. God damn it.
God damn it. You know that just killed him to come back to that shit. But I think point being is that it's not Game of Thrones. It's not a series. It's not a franchise. It's not a world in which your main characters do get killed off. It's a little bit more feel good. If you want something darker, you're gonna have to go for the offshoot or the anthology ones they're doing, or the Mandalorian, or something that's not one of these. Because the thing is, and I actually had this realization the other day after I saw it. We have talked about for a long time, like, why the fuck do we keep going back to the Skywalkers, right? The
yeah.
Starwalkers, the Star Lords. Why do we keep going back to them? I'm like, because this is about them. Because there's a 9-part movie that is telling the saga of the Skywalker family, essentially, and that's why. And it actually, I found a lot of peace with that issue that we've had, is because I'm like, because why does The Simpsons follow The Simpsons for 30 years? Because it's about The Simpsons, and so. You've got the other movies that are going to be coming out, and you've got The Mandalorian, and they may mention things, but they're like, I think what we have now is a great cutoff point where we're like, great, now we can move on, and we have told this in 9 parts, and that's great. And now everything else we can find, you know, maybe Finn and Poe do go on their own adventure. Maybe we meet someone completely different like The Mandalorian or something like that. But I think the reason that we followed the Skywalkers and the reason that they didn't actually kill anyone off is because that's what these movies are. It's just at the core, the essence of what these movies have always been is that. It's more feel-good than Game of Thrones.
I agree. I think there's some nuance and there's some gray area between Game of Thrones and Star Wars. And I feel like...
I'm using it as an extreme example.
But that's a really good point, that it is a bit more whimsical. It is a bit more swashbuckling, lighthearted.
It's a space opera.
Yeah. Like in those old-timey SWAT, like people get stabbed, they get slashed, but there's really no blood. Same thing with Star Wars. That... little lighter.
The
approach.
arrow through the eye was a shocker to me, I have to admit. I've not seen anyone take an
was
arrow
that?
through the eye.
Oh, that was when what's his name came into the scene. Yeah,
I was like, oh, that dude's flat out dead.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about
no
like
blood.
when Finn takes the lightsaber in Force Awakens and just runs it through the guy from behind.
Yeah.
You know, that
Right.
was...
Even that felt less like, I don't know why, but because it's a lightsaber and this is like just a straight up arrow.
bolt. Yeah,
entire planets are nuked.
Right,
Entire planets are nuked.
That's a fair point.
Very whimsical. The entire Republic was nuked by the power of a sun.
That's a fair point.
But in a way, that's like, oh, it doesn't seem personal because it's like, oh, that's billions of people, but we see them go, oh my God, and then they just vaporize.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and even like when people
Voices
are, like,
have cried out,
when
yeah.
people get shot and whatever, it's like, oof, they fall over and they're done and whatever. So I do agree with you to a certain extent, but also I disagree in a sense that this is the Skywalker story, because I feel like with Episode 7, we stepped away from the Skywalkers and we stepped into the life of Poe. We stepped in the life of Rey and the life of Finn. Rey, I feel like, is is the main character in season
No, it's still the Skywalker story with Ben Solo being wrapped up in there.
True, but
Just that he's the bad guy now. That's the only.
it's
the
true,
flip.
but he is a part of the story, but
But he's not the main character.
he's not the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like I would argue he is a close second to the main character. Like he is like
And since Rey's a dyad, it is such a
Don't you dare use that word. With
helix, like double helix, like it's so intertwined. You
Yeah.
can't separate them. So they
I mean,
are
we-
an
we-
integral part of the Skywalker story.
right using the word dyad or not. Like you said in that first movie, or in number 7 rather, they got so mixed up with each other that there's no way you can't like they became essentially one shared character.
Yeah.
in my
I-
mind,
I would
Like,
agree with- I would
they
agree.
had their own stories for sure, but like there's no way their stories weren't just fully entwined until the end.
Yeah.
you know?
See, I feel like the Skywalker story, and I know it happened, so we're not gonna. I know everything that we've talked about has happened, so I'm not creating fan theories. But what I'm saying is, to me, the Skywalker story ended with Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
At that point, when we moved into The Force Awakens, it was someone else's story. And then when they weaved back into, actually, no, she's a Palpatine, stuff like that, it just infuriated me more because I was like,
See, because I interpreted it as this is the story told about the Star Wars universe. This is the one particular gripping story that will take 9 chapters to tell that revolve around things of like the rebellion, the Empire, specifically Tatooine.
This one
Luke,
nucleus.
very
Yeah, this-
specifically
One,
Tatooine.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. It's-
and other places that look very
lot like
suspect of
Tatooine.
Tatooine.
Yeah.
So the story that revolves all around those people and events, and this was like a good bookending of the twin sons, a girl and her droid, starting with a boy and his droid, 2 sons. Good way to bookend it. And it took a lot of paths or a lot of turns from A to B, but that whole story, not specifically Luke coming, finding his father, challenging the Emperor, done. Like it continued from there and then ended off Tatooine to Tatooine, dual sons.
And I guess that's what bothered me, is that it's bothered me against the whole new trilogy in general. It's just that they kept focusing on these older characters.
But I think you're looking at it as a new trilogy, whereas I think what it needs to be, what I think the intent is to look at it is a 9-part series.
And
I think that's the
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
you can do that, and I guess that's what their intention was, but it's not, to me, that wasn't explicit until now. And I'm like,
See, I don't know. I thought it was pretty that was my understanding from the beginning. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I think what's nice now is that now we can go off and explore more. Like
Thank Christ.
at least
Thank-
I hope. Again, if there's 2 things Disney has learned, it's 1, don't split directors, and 2, we've put a nice period at the end of this. Don't drudge up what we've finished.
Yeah, I think for me, this trilogy was really disappointing. And I think Force Awakens got me so pumped. I saw that movie twice in the same weekend. I saw it. I was like, this fucking is awesome. I remember saying at the
Doug
time.
doesn't do that besides
I don't
Marvel
do that.
movies.
Jill went with me both times. Like, we both saw it twice.
That's a pretty big-
Which was pretty. We saw you, I think, on our
Yeah.
way back from it.
did,
you guys
yeah.
were going, we're like, we're going again or something like that.
love it, yeah.
Like, we fucking loved it. We were pumped. And I was so pumped because I'm like, man, where are they going to go from here? And I was just disappointed at how it all wrapped up, because I felt like there was a lot of things that were tossed in the air and we only caught a few of them. And I just think from a story perspective, it feels disjointed. It feels taped together. And I don't blame JJ. I don't blame Ryan. I look at this because, and this is not an apples to apples comparison by any stretch of the imagination, but you look at Marvel, 11 years of planned stuff that comes out. And then I look at Star Wars, I'm like, we couldn't get 3 movies through here? Like that were without plot holes and without things that didn't match up or didn't barring the extenuating circumstances like Carrie Fisher's passing away and stuff like that. I look at that, and granted also, Marvel, not yet, doesn't have the nostalgia factor added into it where people are like, that's not my Star-Lord.
15 years from now, let's
15
circle
years
back.
from now when they come back to do, oh no, it's the ultimate universe and they have to recast. We'll see what happens then.
Yeah.
So they're not fighting against that. There are people who love the comic
When
books.
Natalie's Marvel comes
Uh-huh.
out, and she's like, Dad, you want to go see this? And you're like, hell no.
It's not my Marvel. So they don't have that working. But I look at that and I look at the way that story was told, over 11 years. And I'm like, God damn it. That I guess maybe I'm tainted by that. Maybe that set the bar high for me in a sense of how do you tell a story? And when I look at this and I was like, this doesn't meet my personal expectations of what this should be. I guess maybe that's what it is.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I think I just had a breakthrough.
Doug, you did it.
I think I just had a breakthrough with this. Where I was just
honestly think that's a really good point. Like because I don't, and again, this is all you guys listening and watching are going to have your own thoughts on this. But for me, I was not nearly as in retrospect. In the moment, yes, I was like, what the fuck are they doing? In retrospect, I don't hate these movies nearly as much as I hate 1, 2, and 3. Those are still a flaming pile of garbage that can go to hell. I understand that your brother says one thing. He can go fuck himself. Dave, you go fuck yourself.
That's a debate for another time. Which is better, prequels or new trilogy?
Sure.
By far. Okay, let me go on the record. Let me go on the record and say, what did you say? I was really disappointed. You said you don't hate them.
Mm-hmm.
I like them. I think they're all well done.
I agree with. I like them too. Let me rephrase. Let me retcon my answer.
My only sticking point with this latest movie was really just the artistic choices of the writers, and everything else was
the look and feel of it is like that's why I remember watching Force Awakens again. I'm like, see, this is what I love about this new series is the practical effects, the way things look and feel. It's like, God damn.
So what was your issue with the little droid slicer?
I didn't have
the little. I thought you're like, let's circle back to that guy. The little.
Oh no! I was talking because what I want to circle back with was the fact that C-3PO was going to wipe his mind, but they didn't wipe his mind, sort of stuff. And so those to me, there was just a lot of disappointment with a lot of the stuff. I felt the lightsaber fights also felt slow to me. They didn't have the same oomph that they had
urgency.
In the last. There was just times where I'm like, whoa. That just doesn't seem the same. Like, going back to watching Force Awakens again when fucking Kylo's fighting Rey and Finn, and they're just like, it's just like going to town with each other. And in the throne room in Last Jedi with Rey and Kylo, and they're fighting all those guards. And this, it felt a lot more sterile to me. Also, who the fuck are the Knights of Ren? What good are they? They didn't do a goddamn thing.
Were you saying like who
are the Knights of Ren?
The dudes all dressed in black that just walk slowly around, menacing.
Didn't we meet them in the Force Awakens?
We saw them in a brief flashback or some vision sequence that Rey was having when she touched the lightsaber.
Yeah. Weren't they on the planet that where it opens up and he's on the planet and he like catches the bolt? He catches the blaster bolt and pushes it back?
Those are stormtroopers.
Those are stormtroopers?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't watched that movie.
They're like, even you, master of the Knights of Ren, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, cool, who are the Knights of Ren?
We've heard the Knights of Ren before, though.
We've heard of them.
Yeah, they've been mentioned for sure, but they weren't nearly shown as much. I think the little flashback of the Jedi Temple burning, they might have been there.
There was a scene where it was raining, and it was Kylo standing there with the Knights of Ren, and Rey is like looking at them, and then it cuts away.
It was like a Force vision or something.
Yeah, exactly. When she touches the lightsaber.
But like this is the first time they're explicitly shown. Like they were walking around that desert planet. They caught Chewie.
They caught Chewie off screen.
Yeah.
So impressive. We couldn't even show it.
But they didn't have like even like vibro blades or lightsaber stuff. They said like
they clubs.
Like literally the Goon Squad just walking around like.
Warriors
curmudgeons
come out and
they didn't even talk,
and they didn't even talk.
It's those are things where I'm like missed opportunities.
So here's a good example.
It doesn't bother me that much.
Let me say, if they scene opens, an Imperial officer is like booking it down the hall, goes to the door, opens it, and it's Kylo training with the Knights of Ren, and they're just like sweaty and they're just maybe bloody and bruised up, just training and just beating the hell out of each other. He's like, Lord, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we found the girl, we found this. Where are they? And then just go from there. That would establish how badass they are because they took him on and they beat the crap out of him until he got a lightsaber at the very end of the movie. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
No, I do remember that part.
But they didn't establish like any of that. And that's like, I expected more professional level artistic choices in cinematic production.
Yeah.
From anybody, especially a Disney crew.
Yeah, I think that's also where it comes down to is I expect more out of Disney. I expect more out of their capability of putting stuff like that together. And I think my expectations for this one, I went in pretty low expectations. But when I look at this, I'm like, you guys are way better than this. I know that you are. There's too many gaps here for things where we just have to guess. We have to be like, well, I mean, they probably did this, or
I assume she recreated the lightsaber.
I'm assuming they got it functional again, but that breaking was very symbolic.
Yeah.
It was very important, and it was like, it's okay though. We got it back together. It's all good.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Leia has a lightsaber too. It's like, wait, how long did we talk about the lightsabers and which
green
one
and the
she
blue,
had?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's like she had one that looked just like Luke's, but it was blue.
We
But
really
Luke's
need
is
to
green.
Pin it out like with yarn and pins on a detective board. Tracing this lightsaber. Oh,
I was like, wait, because you're like, no,
this
that's
was in the restaurant.
yeah, because you were like, no, that's Luke's lightsaber. I'm like, oh, which is Anakin's. It's the same one.
Yeah.
Because he took it from Obi-Wan. His dad had it, and then she had it, and we were like trying to piece it together. I'm like, we shouldn't be talking like this about this. It shouldn't be this confusing. I'm so confused.
What else you got here, Justin?
I'm gonna pull the sarcastic card and go. You could also just not talk about it and accept it as a movie,
But here's the thing.
as a space movie
Here's
with
the thing.
Wookiees.
I will 100%
and
accept
Force.
that. I will 100% accept that, except that they do things that are counter to that, where you're like, oh, no. This is how this works. It's like, yeah, but we just glossed over this.
I will say this, like having in no way, shape, or form done anything to this capacity, but having done some filming, the choices that he had to make to fit everything in, there was going to be compromises. There's no way that
Totally.
he could have, because you look at those little things like, well, how did the lightsaber get put back together? Well, why didn't we know about Leia? Well, why didn't all these little things that adds up to another 2 hours? Like, so if you were to go through and you got to choose which ones that you're gonna expand upon.
No, I disagree. A simple line of when Leia says to Rey, "Oh, you're going to run the course." She's like, "Have you finished rebuilding it?" Yeah. Okay, go.
Done. Problem solved.
Yeah, no, but see that would, and I say this with all due respect, that would happen, and then you'd be at this table going, "But how did she rebuild it?"
See, I wouldn't.
Personally,
Personally, I would, because here's the thing. I don't care how she rebuilt
Well,
it.
then why can't you just assume that she rebuilt it?
Because they made such a big deal about it breaking, and then it's just there. It's like that.
Yeah, but-
that act of it breaking didn't mean anything then.
But by saying I rebuilt it, or her just having it, you have the same amount of information. So why hearing the words "I rebuilt it"? Why does that satisfy an answer to such a impactful scene of it breaking? You're getting no more information by her saying "I rebuilt it" than you are just seeing it rebuilt.
Well,
I'm not trying to be difficult.
No,
I
I
legitimately
agree.
wanna know,
I'm
like,
trying
why.
to figure, and I think it's because that lightsaber is a MacGuffin through most 9 movies.
Yeah.
It seems to have some importance, and the fact that there's so many blue ones. You're like, whose is that? Is it Anakin's? Is it?
I'm so mad.
There's one red one with the cross guard. There's one green one that Luke made.
Not if you watch the prequels.
Darth
there's a whole
Maul's
bunch
double-ended one. You know?
Darth Maul's so he's like, oh, I see you constructed your own lightsaber. Your training is very
Your
far
training is nearly
along."
complete.
Yeah, nearly complete. Oh, that made
Nearly
come back.
complete.
So they
I made one and it's taupe.
so little things like that they did a really good job explaining before.
Okay.
They sort of dropped the ball on this time.
I agree with you on that, but again, I think there are so many of those little things that, again, one line of dialogue's not going to make, it's not going to change the entire understanding of that one thing. Like I think you would need to go further into it.
I'm probably too deep. Not probably. I'm too deep into Star Wars because if it were like the Old Republic or like the prequels where there's Jedi everywhere and there's like, oh, I picked it up from the supply closet at the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
You know the lost and found baby. Just like, I reached it in.
Hey, anybody lose a blue lightsaber?
We got some taupe ones. Fuck it, I'll take it.
Take it.
Because that's a good point too. Because
The Jedi are eradicated. Anything about Jedi, like
Yeah,
these things are rare.
Because again, to me, that scene was important because I'm like, does Rey know how to build it? Does she know how to build a new
That's
one?
a huge thing in the trilogy or the
Yeah.
nonology. What's it called now?
Yeah, the non-canon part of it is building your own lightsaber is huge. And then at the end of the movie, she builds her own and it's gold. I'm like, cool. So I guess she learned how to do that at some point, but it's less impactful because again, at the end of Last Jedi, that's broken and she looks devastated.
Distraught.
Yeah.
That was her weapon, and it's gone. And then we start the next movie, and she's like, "It's good." And I'm like, it just lessens the impact of the previous movie. And I feel like a lot of Rise of the Skywalker just neutralizes The Last Jedi.
It definitely threw some water on the flames of how impactful.
Going back to
Last
the
Jedi.
who raised heritages, the fact that in Last Jedi she was nobody was so powerful because it also, the very last scene of
a
Last
little
Jedi
kid.
is a little kid using force powers to get a broom.
Yeah.
That sort of led to the idea that,
That's a Skywalker nephew.
oh, there we go. I'm sorry. He's a distant cousin.
Skywalkers, they get around.
Yeah, right? So it leads you to believe
lay
that,
pipe.
and again, balance to the Force, right? The Force is existing. And I love the idea of the Force bringing, like, same thing with those stormtroopers, right? The Force took an entire platoon of them, and it's like, no, and it's having that effect. And so, but then by going back and being like, actually, she's a Palpatine, it's like, well, shit. Then why that? It just sort of undercuts everything that came before it. It just, I think the best way to say is it puts water on those flames.
Yeah.
It makes it less important. And to me, those are the things that stick with me where I'm like, well, then it makes me go back and be like, well, then what was the point of that? And what was the point of this? And what was the point of why do we have those conversations?
Right.
If in the future we were just going to be like, well, actually,
But
it's
I honestly think a lot of that, and I don't disagree at all. I just think a lot of that too is the fact that J.J. Abrams had one. He was put in the. They sat him down. They said, "You have one movie, fix everything." And like
See,
how
and
do you
then, and I
tie
go to
up a
that
bunch-
person who said, fix it. I'm like, what's broken? That's
not
what I
fi-
would say
sorry,
to them.
Not fix it. Tie up every loose end.
Yeah.
Bring it all together. Like to do that, JJ would need conservatively at least two or three more movies to really like bring
Do the justice
all these
that we're talking about.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I think you got to look at it from like again, he didn't. First off, he was just like, here's my first entry, Mr. Johnson, have at it, and
Yeah.
whoever comes after that, good luck, And then they set him back down and said, okay, wrap it all up and make it a little bit more traditional. And he's just like, cool. So here's this thing that we got,
Yeah.
Yeah. From a filmmaking standpoint, I understand how it came to be, but from an audience member and from a storytelling perspective, it still doesn't excuse to me how it came out. I get it. What I didn't want to be JJ one or first or last one that he did. Fuck that shit. That's a huge
He's
responsibility.
destined to fail.
And I thought he did a good job setting things up in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And having to come back with everything. And you know what? And again, I put more of the blame on the executive side of it because they're like, oh my God,
Right.
we have this new theme park.
Yeah.
We can't kill Chewbacca because there's a guy dressed as Chewbacca.
We have a whole line of toys coming out.
We can't even have Darth Vader anymore. We have to have Kylo Ren walking around. Like, we can't, but he's dead. Oh, God! What have we done?
guys, we paid $178 for that Chewbacca costume. We need
We need way more sweat in
the
there.
original 70s.
It's like, God, this smells like weed.
We bought it off eBay.
Yeah.
The fucking park bought it off eBay.
So, like, from that
Peter
perspective,
Mayhew hawked it for weed money.
you see, that's where I don't like Disney, is because that's where there's those corporate interests comes in, and I feel like that affects the storyline.
Well, I think to your earlier point too is that I do think that Marvel has, in a sense, ruined this kind of thing for you because if Marvel hadn't been around, sure we'd be critical of this. Would we be as critical if we hadn't seen it next to flawlessly executed with that series? You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
I think that is set an, one might argue, an unhealthy precedent for movies. Or for movies that
I
to
think
tie together.
You make a good point too, is that Star Wars is not known necessarily for killing off its characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in that regard, it's like, but with Marvel, it's like that's when you would see those things. You were like, holy shit! But that's what also led us to like Infinity, where all of a sudden this stuff was happening. You're
So
like,
I just realization in Return of the Jedi they did start killing off people left and right. The Emperor quote died.
Fuck you, Sam.
Vader.
Try again.
Vader dies.
Uh-oh.
No, keep going. I don't want to interrupt.
So a couple other characters died to make that story final because they had no idea they were going to keep going.
Right. They wanted to, but they didn't know if they ever would.
You're right.
Right.
Do the same thing here. It's totally fine to have Chewie die. Have another Wookiee come in. He's not really done that much to the story. I would love to see him do more, especially more than freaking C-3PO. Kill him off. Let Anthony Daniels retire. Come on. Get R2-D2 to do something or have to go away. I don't know.
I mean, he didn't do anything this time.
Yeah, he was almost
Kind of had a backup for C-3PO. Real quick, I want to talk about this. Also, what this movie and this trilogy douses on is Anakin and Darth Vader. Darth Vader's sacrifice. Darth Vader's sacrifice at the end of Return of the Jedi is 100% muted by the fact that the Emperor still survived.
Yeah, the original trilogy and the prequels were all about him being the chosen one.
Yeah.
His midichlorians are higher than Master Yoda's, da 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 da.
Yeah. And it's like, actually, Palpatine was alive the whole time. It's like, come on.
Yeah, but without that sacrifice, could we have had the events that led us to this point?
Well, then that would make me ask the question is, were these sequels necessary?
Are any movies necessary?
I think they can absolutely make that argument, and I don't think that these movies did.
Welcome back to Coffee Music Talk with Justin and Sam.
Woo! And Doug!
Oh, I'm so sorry for everyone. Doug, you're going to have to specifically go in and bring that part down.
Okay. What's down?
Justin, such a blowout.
Is that a plus? Is that the plus part?
Yeah, when the line goes up, that's bringing it down.
Okay, plus.
Yep, plus.
Okay.
So, Justin, you liked other things about the movie because you've got a lot of notes there.
Oh no, some of these are just regular like weekly mind gap notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is it right here.
I was like,
No,
damn,
right
dude.
here. Yep. This is a fake read for Genie's Weenies. This is this one just says The Witcher ? This one is a head transplant link.
Oh, right. We never.
This is
that
just
one.
general stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, my notes are down here.
Okay, so would you agree that I think you and I are on the same page. Doug, maybe not as much. I think it's a
Maybe not as
perfectly serviceable, perfectly good film.
I liked it.
I liked it. And if there is fault to be had, because you said it's not flawless, if there is fault to be had, it's with any executives coming in and messing stuff up, giving their notes or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Coupled with real life issues, Carrie, messing with production, and they did the best job they could. And it could have been flawless, those things aside, but they did the best job they could. And it was, in my opinion, a solid B+.
Yeah,
of a film?
I would 100% give it. I would be more than comfortable giving it a B+.
Yeah.
And I also in the entire 7, 8, and 9, I just don't think that these movies were as bad as everyone says they are.
Well, I agree.
For me, that's just
Last time I said Last Jedi was tied for number 1.
Yeah, I still stand by it. There's parts that I would skip in it, but I applaud the bold choice and the risks taken in that movie. And I also, in all of this, I blame the fans because I don't think the fans are capable of receiving that kind of risk
100%.
at all. I don't think they were capable of, like, everyone had their idea of who Luke Skywalker would be as this older guy. They didn't like it.
Yeah.
They didn't like that. All the name, everything that's going on with the females and stuff like that. There's diversity. Yeah, it's a universe, guys. It's a galaxy.
Big galaxy.
There's a big galaxy.
Right.
Lando's not the only black guy. I'm sorry. Like, there's going to be more people out there. Get over it. And I just, I think that them not being able to accept that they want it to be their Star Wars in their mind because nostalgia has them.
Yeah.
Nostalgia is like, oh, I remember how all these things they want it recreated in a new way, and it's always tough to go through that again.
Mm-hmm.
So to that regard, I also blame a lot of the hardcore fans who are and the racists and the assholes.
message boards are going to light up on this one.
Oh yeah, they'll be like, oh my God, another podcast.
Come at me, Twitch.
Yeah. So, setting up a sequel, fake title, Throwdown.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
I was gonna go more elaborate, but
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, we got trains to catch. So I wanted to come up with a really fun one for this one, like
Sure.
something that we've seen and this and that. Something you said before we started rolling, I think is the thing that needs to be a throwdown.
Uh-oh.
Which is the lightning from Palpatine's hands versus the lightning from Thor's hammer.
Oh shit!
I think that is
So
just.
is it Thor versus Palpatine? Is
It's
that what it
not
is?
Thor versus Palpatine. It's the lightning from Palpatine's hands versus the lightning from Mjolnir.
That was the original Throwdown, wasn't it? Thor versus Palpatine.
No. It was Luke versus. No, it was Vader versus. No, it was.
No, it was.
Wait, I don't remember. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember.
It was Thanos versus Palpatine. Then we did Luke versus Thor.
Cool.
Yes.
Yes.
I
All right.
believe
So
it.
That
now
sounds
it's
more
both
right.
Mjolnir's lightning versus.
Unless you guys have a better one, because I'm open to whatever.
No, that's fine.
Do you want to do Thor versus Palpatine? I feel like Palpatine wins, but
No, we already did that one, and I was like,
Oh wait, we did.
no, we did Thanos versus Palpatine,
Right.
And then we did Thor versus Luke,
Right.
full force Luke. What about? I'm trying to think.
What about the Ewoks? All of the Ewoks, every last one of them versus Rocket.
I mean,
What
considering,
about?
that's funny because I'm thinking of what Rocket did to the Ravagers in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as they
Yeah.
approached him.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if Rocket has time to set up,
Oh, it's game over.
With his technology and everything? Oh, yeah.
I mean, guns and stuff. I mean, but to be fair, I mean, the Ewoks
He's got-
banded together and stopped the stormtroopers. You know,
I'm trying to think of like Kylo versus somebody. Because we were talking last time when this new episode came out that Kylo should be like the most terrifying force in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Where he was left off.
Next to the Emperor, but yeah.
Correct. So he was
I'm trying to incite rage.
It's working. Let's see.
Yeah, yeah, but no, where he was left off for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Mjolnir's lightning is, as far as I understand, magical, also scientific, because it's just science we don't understand yet. What else? What have we seen it do?
I'm sorry, I haven't. So I have not watched Mandalorian, but some people have said Kylo Ren versus Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
No, I don't know. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Or we could do Kylo Ren versus Darth Maul.
Yeah, we could do that. I think Kylo Ren, because he's been training for almost as long, and you've seen him do explicitly more impressive things with the Force and lightsabers than Baby Yoda so far.
Also, there's no rules to the Force. You can do whatever you want, which is also kind of hard to.
Not if you follow a codified set of rules saying you can't.
I mean, which doesn't exist in the writing rooms for these movies. But
So okay, so why don't we do? Why don't we
Maul
do?
versus-
Kylo Ren versus Darth Maul.
I still think I think Maul.
Really?
Really?
I'm going to say Kylo
because he's a trained assassin.
is he an
like-
assassin?
Yeah. Well, okay, let me put it this way: he's a trained duelist,
Gymnast.
warrior, gymnast. Like he took on Obi-Wan and killed Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kylo Ren took on the Knights of Ren.
Which, by the
You're
way, one
welcome.
of my favorite parts in that is when Kylo just shows up and shot put forces a guy through the wall. I'm like, that's exactly what you do if you didn't have a fucking weapon. You'd be
Right,
like,
yeah.
fuck you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why he didn't just go
Hurricane.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's like, you're in a pit. You're in a pit. You're in a pit.
whatever.
So
Wasn't my fight. Wasn't my fight.
Well, because I would also say this much to Sam's point with Darth Maul. Darth Maul is existing in a time when there's Jedi, well-trained Jedi, everywhere.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it exists all over the place. Whereas in Kylo Ren's time, there's
There's
you know,
Rey.
so
Yeah.
he was trained by Luke though.
Okay. Do you want to?
Yeah, he was-
do you want to pull in canon information like from the Clone Wars with Darth Maul?
Sure, because they exist. So tell me.
It's part of the canon.
Yeah.
He, no spoilers. He eventually challenged
Spoilers.
the leader,
What have I not seen?
the Clone Wars.
I'm never gonna watch that.
Yeah, okay. So he challenged Mandalore, the leader of the Mandalorians, to a duel, killed him, became the leader of the Mandalorians for like a moment or two in the Clone Wars.
But everyone
Like
could tell.
it's like a 3-season arc.
Right, but everyone could tell because his horns came through his helmet. So they were like, well, that's Darth Maul.
It's form fitted. He's like, I'm a Mandalorian. We know who you are.
No, Darth, you're not. All right.
And like those Mandalorians are like space Spartans born and bred for battle. That's all they live and breathe is battle.
Okay.
He challenged the best of them, killed them. Quite handily too.
All right. All right.
And throughout that show, you see him kill some top level duelists, warriors.
But you know he doesn't kill is Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Cut in half.
who started training Luke, who was then finished training by Yoda, and then Luke trained Kylo Ren.
For like 6 months. It was
What,
summer.
for 6
It was summer
months?
camp.
No,
it was summer.
not
Jedi summer camp.
It was not. That was false. Jedi
Yeah,
summer
it was
camp.
years and years and years.
Yeah.
But then who also then went and learned not only he learned light side and dark side.
Yeah.
Right? So one could argue that he's got maybe a better understanding of the Force capabilities.
Yeah.
That's true.
He can
But
also
I would say-
interdimensionally pass things to someone else.
True.
I would say
'Cause of the
martial prowess I would
duality
give to Darth Maul as far as lightsaber skills.
His
without a
alacrity
doubt.
alone.
His alacrity alone puts him above, like he just, I think, is at a different level than Kylo.
Yeah.
So, and I would say,
Plus, Kylo, I feel like he kind of reminds me of like a linebacker. Like he's pretty big and bulky.
Yeah.
He's,
Kylo?
he's not that quick. Like
Yeah.
you don't see him using speed. So in the
Darth is far more nimble.
nimble in the prequels, you see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon be like, "Those battle droids, let's get out of here!" Whoop! They use the Force just like haul ass down the hallway like that. You don't see Kylo do anything like that in these. So I don't know
Yeah.
if he's not aware, can't do it. I don't know.
yeah, I think that there's just a general more. I think Darth Maul has access to more knowledge and more practice
Martial
than
knowledge, for
I
sure.
think Kylo does.
Yeah.
Than Kylo had.
Yeah.
And I think that gives him an edge.
And Kylo especially is trying to live up to Vader, who was like this hulking, slow
He didn't need to move fast.
glacier.
Yeah.
Like you can't stand up against it, but it's coming, and because he's slow, and he tried to mimic that as best he could. So I don't think he could stand up to.
Yeah, I
Maul.
think Darth Maul would win.
Darth Maul?
Yeah.
All right, you know what? Because you're so smart, both of you.
Am I gonna have to bring his down too?
I yell.
I'm the only one that can be on that.
I yell off mic, Doug. I yell off mic.
I'm a
I don't.
professional.
I try. In my mind, I am, but I'm just like aiming slightly
the
above.
thing is, you are. It's just you have such powerful
I
lungs.
have a superpower.
You have Force lungs.
I have. I'm loud. It's my worthless superpower.
You can scare off bears.
Not gonna try that out. That was fun, and honestly, that was a great discussion.
Yeah.
This can obviously raise blood pressure amongst people, and I think what is great is having these kinds of discussions to talk about what we liked and what we didn't, and remembering that these are just movies,
At the end of the day, it's a
and
space
it's
movie.
entertainment.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate how toxic and how easy it is to fall to the dark side of these conversations and give into that where it's like throat bearded butt fuckers. And I don't. And I'm glad we didn't do that. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for. And not only that, just to get that perspective of stuff. Like I loved it when we walked out and Jill was like,
I loved it.
"I loved it."
Yeah.
She
See,
goes,
so-
"I kept waiting for it to be bad," and she goes, "And I never saw
From
it."
that angle, from like the lightest casual fan to like moderate fans,
Yeah.
they knocked it out of the park.
100%.
Yeah.
And to have Jill just be like, "I loved it," and I was like, "God bless you for not having the baggage that I do."
Yeah.
To be like, she's like, "I don't remember any of those other movies." I'm like, "Good for you. You can just sit back and just be like, cool, that was enjoyable." I'm like,
I've
"God,
actually
that's awesome."
I've actually come to peace with my nostalgia for it. I'm like, that's where I'm like, yeah, kill off Chewie. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it really did come down to the cinematic or artistic choices by the writers or the ones that were approved by executives. And I feel like that.
The legitimate storytelling, like the
Yeah.
I think I feel like from a cinematic point of view, that's where
Yeah.
it didn't sit right. And maybe as a kid I wouldn't see it, but as an adult, I'm like, they're obviously keeping that little droid in there just to sell toys. That little green and white one.
yeah,
And I'm like,
100%.
ugh, that's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need sell the ones that are actually in the story, not like Poe and Ray, stuff like that.
Well, it's
Bill
the same
Burr.
reason they made those. What are the Pog ones or whatever the fuck? Those little
Porgs.
Porgs.
Yeah.
whatever
But
the
that's
fuck
actually
those
not
things
why they made them.
Oh yeah.
That island was infested with actual little birds, and so they CGI'd those porgs on top of them because
Yeah.
they couldn't get them out.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
they were
Puffins
everywhere.
or
Yeah, they were
something,
puffins. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
All right,
they're
well,
like
never
they're like fuck. They're in there. I'm like, well, let's put something else on top of it. Boop, and thus the porgs were born.
Yeah.
All right.
And it
Like,
worked
well,
out.
That was a happy little accident.
How are we gonna pay for all the CGI? Make them into toys.
Done.
Done. Actually, that's not a bad move.
That's
Yeah.
that's a
love
smart
move.
executive
Yeah.
choice.
That is a
That's-
smart
that's
executive
well
choice.
done.
No, I agree with you in the sense that like it's it is easy to get like really like infuriated and people take to the message boards and it was fun. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
I agree.
movie.
I had something else to say.
It's a
about
movie
Jill,
on
but whatever.
3.
1, 2, 3.
It's
a movie.
I made sure to really
That
face
was
that way.
fantastic.
Thank you. See,
Yes.
I had to look all the way away, and that's how it worked.
how it works.
Sam, thanks so much for being here as always.
thank
lending
you.
Your,
Love being here.
Your Star Wars prowess and everything like that.
Love you.
Oh, thanks,
And
bud.
you. And you.
Yeah. Sam, what's out there that you'd recommend?
2 things.
Yes.
Chris and Matt show, Self-Aware.
Nice.
February. Number 2. That's number 1. Number 2, The Mandalorian. Disney Plus. Get it. It is, if you like spaghetti westerns, you will absolutely love it. If you like the more nitty-gritty, realistic side of Star Wars, you will absolutely love it. And if you just like good solid storytelling by people who appreciate it, made by fans for fans versus made by executives for fans. Because Jon Favreau, if you don't know, he did Iron Man 1. That was absolutely fantastic. He was a huge fan. He's doing this one as well. He played Mandalore in Clone Wars. Yeah, so he's steeped in the Mandalorian history and storytelling and Star Wars, and he's a huge fan. And he just crushed it, in my opinion. Absolutely crushed it. Everybody involved. So, yeah. Chris and Matt show, Mandalorian.
Nice. Justin, what do you got?
2 movies besides this one. The Peanut Butter Falcon, which is the Shia LaBeouf, Dakota Johnson vehicle. That was amazing. And then Little Women. Go see that movie.
I've heard good things.
Both of these movies, again, I sent a tweet out about it, but both of these movies reminded me why I got into filmmaking. Like,
That's
they're
so cool.
just
That's awesome.
beautiful, beautiful movies. Go see them. I can't
That's great
speak
to hear.
highly enough.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Nice. I'm going to be the asshole at the table that's going to recommend The Witcher. I just finished it. It's fantastic.
Why does it make you the asshole?
I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like it's something where if you watch it, it doesn't hold your hand, and it's flawed in that way. But I highly recommend it. It's 80 episodes. It's on Netflix. Stars Henry Cavill as Geralt, the Witcher. It's really well done. Highly recommend it. And hopefully we will do an episode on that.
I think
sometime
that's
soon,
coming, yeah.
which would be very, very fun. So cool, gang. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for Twitch and the people who are on Twitch, specifically Twitch Incorporated. Don't forget to check us out on all our social medias at Mind Gap Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Look for us on Twitch, twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast, where we stream. I almost said Twitch, where we stream every week our live episodes. You can interact with us, chat with us, let us know what's going on, and also check out our YouTube channel where we post our episodes and everything like that. Justin also exists transcendentally.
On Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it while you're in the online realm. Check us out on Apple Podcast, on Stitcher,
Spotify,
and Google Podcast, wherever you can find and listen to podcasts. And then while you're there, subscribe to us, like us, share us around, do all the things that we ask you to do every week, specifically sharing us around. Let family members know. Did they like the movie? Did they not? Tell them to listen to us, and we'll change their opinion, probably. And then 2east8th.com/mindgap and 2east8th. Just keep an eye on all of our 2east8th social presences.
Also, be sure to follow Sam on Facebook.
Yep.
He's very, very active on there. Look for him and add him as a friend. And
Sam Koch.
he might accept it.
Yep.
Yeah, he might add you as a friend.
He's on a tear right now.
Yeah.
Total.
Yep.
Twitch, thank you for listening. Podcast listeners, thank you for listening. Sam, thank you.
Thank you.
Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Awesome. And we'll see you guys next week. Happy New Year!
2020.
Mind Gap Podcast.